Happy Thursday, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Susie Say That. Today's topic is I'm sorry. Let's sit in that for a moment. Are you really sorry? That's the question to ask yourself today. Are you really sorry? Because when we're sorrowful, we don't continue to do the action. We don't continue to do it. We don't continue to do the same thing over and over again when we're really sorry. When we have the sincere, sorrowful heart, we're really sorry. We hate that we done that. Sincere. We're sorry. But I think that being sorrowful should be that one time thing. I should be able to say to you, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And move on. And I think that if you receive it and you forgive me, it should be, I receive that. Susie, it's good. And we should be able to move on. But why do I have to tell you over and over again, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, what am I doing here? I'm trying to build up my trust again in you. So I'm going to keep on saying I'm sorry, even if I'm not, because I know it works. I know if I keep saying I'm sorry to a person, I can manipulate that. I can get an emotion out of them over and over again, and I can build trust. Everyone don't want to build trust with you. Everyone don't want to build trust with you when they say they're sorry. When I say I'm sorry, I'm not trying to build trust. I'm really not. I'm just saying I'm sorry. I did something wrong I shouldn't have did, but I'm not trying to build your trust because you can say you're sorry to a stranger. You can hit their card in the store. I'm sorry. That's sincere because you see you hit somebody's card. But I don't have to come back to you again and say, oh, I'm so sorry I hit your card. Oh, I'm so sorry I hit your card. Do you? You don't. Because it's that sincere apology that I hit somebody's card. I've had people hit my cart and not say a thing. They wasn't sorry. And did I get upset about it? There's been times, yeah. I've said, excuse you. I've said that, excuse you, and I keep on going. But did they say I'm sorry? No, and I was okay because they wasn't. We have to stop expecting people to give us things they don't have. They don't have the sorry in their heart. They're not sorry for talking about you. They're not sorry for lying on you. They're not sorry because this is their way of life. But we expect them to be sorry. Why? Because we're good, moral human beings. When you do something to someone, you should say you're sorry. But what if they're not sorry? So why do they have to say it? Think about that. What is that you want? What is that you want from them? Think about that. As you think going about your Thursday, think about what is that I want when a person don't say they're sorry. And they're not sorry. So why do I want a falsified sorrow? Why do I want them to falsify something and give it to me? And I know that they're not sorry. What am I looking for? An argument? What am I looking for? Trust? What am I looking for here when they're not sorry? I'm sorry. I'm sorry is good. It shows where your heart is. It shows the purity of your heart when you do something or say something. I'm sorry, and you don't do it again. That means a lot. You just don't do it again. You're done with it. You're like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have did that. And keep going. I used to apologize to people about everything. I'm sorry about this. I shouldn't. There's this, and I was in Vegas. I'll never forget it. I met this woman. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am. I'm so sorry because I hit her buggy or she had one of them pulling carts and I hit it by mistake. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She said, stop apologizing for everything. And I looked at her. I said, ooh, whoa, where did that come from? I knew it was bigger than her. I knew she was just being used to give me a lesson. And I said, pardon me? I was sorry. And she said, yeah, I know that, but you just go around apologizing for everything. Everything ain't your fault, okay? And she walked away from me like the boss she was. And I started laughing. And I said, thank you, because she gave me something. Because during that time, I was always trying to make amends and always trying to, I'm sorry, maybe I could have did something different. Or maybe I could have said something different. I'm sorry, forgive me for that. Oh, I lived my life doing that. Can we have a conversation? And then I'm the only one in the conversation saying, I'm sorry for that. Yeah, because you shouldn't have did this. Yeah, because you shouldn't have said that. Yeah, I was the only one that was saying I was sorry all those times. I was the only one. And then I said, what am I getting? Or what am I trying to get? That lady gave me a lesson. I don't want confrontation. I don't want to seem like I'm a bad person. I'm trying to prove myself over and over and over again to people. And she gave me a lesson. And I started being very careful with when I say I'm sorry. Am I sincere the first time I say it? If I am, I walk away like a boss, the boss of my life. Not the boss of that person, but the boss of my life. Because I said I was sorry. Either you're going to receive it or not. I remember this time I was at the grocery store with two of my grandchildren, and they went in the grocery store, and I said, I'm just going to sit out here and wait. And I was waiting in the wrong spot, but I was waiting. And I wasn't in the handicap or anything, but I was waiting right in front of the door, and I was letting the people walk by and all that. So I stopped the car. Because I want the cars just to go around, being honest. They can go around me because I'm waiting on these two kids that went in. They're going to be out real fast. I'm sitting up there, and I see my grandkids coming out. I see them at the door, and I turn on the car because I ain't sitting idle and got no car on because anything could happen, right? So I turn the car on, and this man is walking past, and he's with his significant other. I don't know what she was, and she had the baby in her arm. And so I turned the car on, and I moved up just to not even by them. That man went off, and I said, I'm sorry. I got out the window. I said, I'm sorry. He was cursing. He was saying all kind of stuff. What did he want? Back in the day, I would have got out the car and I would say, sir, I'm so sorry. I just turned my car. I would have been explaining to that fool, because that's what he was. He was a fool. I would have been explaining, and he was cussing, and he was going off, and he was pointing at me. He was doing, and my grandkids got in the car, and they said, what's going on with that man? Who is he talking to? I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. So when we got down the road, I told them what happened, and they was like, whoa, that man. And I said, that was his stuff. That wasn't mine. I didn't pick it up either, because I didn't even talk about it again until now. I was like, that's his stuff. That ain't got anything to do with me. He wanted me to just give it to him, just bow down to him for turning on my car and moving up, and I wasn't even close to him. But maybe he did think that I was going to just keep on going and hit him in his... I don't know what he thought, because I wasn't in his mind. And at that point, I didn't care, because I said I was sorry, and I meant that. I meant if I brought fear to you, if I made you feel some kind of way, I'm sorry for that, because that was never my intention. But what I'm not going to do is bow down with more sorrows. I'm not going to keep saying, I'm sorry, because now I'm building you up. I don't even know you, but I'm building you up for what? For you to continue with this aggressiveness and be ignorant. And every time a car get close to you, or to even start that car, you're going to cuss them out. Continue on. But I'm not going to feed into that. I recognize his power in that. And he was cursing, and he was saying all kind of stuff. And I just kept on. Kids just went on. I said, that's his stuff. And I drove away like the boss I am in my life. Sorry. I'm sorry. Some of you all just got to get it together with this sorry stuff, because you're either building up a spirit that needs to be built up when you constantly say it, or you're trying to manipulate this person or these people, whoever, to get what you want. There's many reasons why we do sorrows and say we apologize over and over again. It's either for us or it's for them. But there's a reason that you need it. There's a reason that that man did that. There's a reason that he cursed and he carried on. He needed someone to validate his anger. And it wasn't going to be me, because I said, I'm sorry. And I meant that I was sorry. And he was pointing, he was going off. He needed a validation. He feels worthless. He feels that he needs to fight and he needs to do this. I'm not about to give you that. I said I was sorry. I don't even know you. I said I was sorry. And that was that. And I was done with it. What about you? What do people need to do to move you? Do they need to keep saying they sorry to you? I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did that. Hey, I'm sorry. Forgive me. And we ain't even like that. We're passerbys. We just pass each other by. But you want me to fulfill your need, your self-esteem, your worth, by saying I'm sorry to you over and over again. Some of us need to ask God, what is this? Why do I constantly apologize to people over and over and over again when they're the villain? They're the villain. They're trying to victimize me with an apology. They love when I say I'm sorry. I used to do it all the time and didn't realize that to them, when I said that, that meant that I was wrong and they was right. I didn't know that. Because a lot of times when people want you to constantly apologize to them, it builds them up. And then you become the villain and they become the victim. And you know that you did nothing wrong. You did nothing wrong. I lived a life of that with someone for 20-some years. I used to apologize for everything. I just, I wanted to have peace. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe it's something I could do. Can we pray together? Yeah, take the Bible and throw it across the room and do all kind of stuff. And I was be study trying to make things right, trying to, pray. I'm going to pray to God and things going to get right. I was constantly doing that. And they were constantly being the victim and I was being the villain. But outside, nobody never knew that. They thought that I was the villain and they was the victim. Over and over again. They would do all kinds of things. And I was constantly trying to make things right. And then when they would say they're sorry to me, they would be one and done. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have did it, but I did. That's it. They'd be nonchalant about it because I was busy covering them all the time. Oh, they didn't mean it, and they this and that, and I'm sorry that things ain't right, and we can make things better, and et cetera, and et cetera. Apologizing for people's behaviors. That ain't your business. Apologizing, because when is the real them going to stand up and show up? Show up and stand up. When it's going to happen? The real them. They can't be the real them and you constantly covering them with apologies. Constantly telling them that you're sorry and, making them look like they're the great person and you the bad person. Come on. I'm sorry. There's a time and a place for the sorrow, for the repentant heart. When you're sorrowful, you just don't do it again. This person I'm talking about did the same thing over and over and over again, but they would say, I'm sorry, right, to keep me there. And my self-esteem was to the ground, so I stayed. Okay? But they could woo me with a sorry, and I would woo them with one. But they didn't have to give account for their things they was doing. So I would say, well, I'm sorry, I understand, let's pray about this. Throw that Bible across the room, and it would be a mess. I wouldn't, but they would. And then they would say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't did. And they write these love letters and these beautiful letters, and I'm sorry. When I would just say, we're done, this and that. And then they would say, I'm sorry, and they'd write this letter, and I read the letter, and I said, oh my gosh, they are sorry. Manipulation. Manipulation. They wasn't sorry, because they did the same thing again. Again. But they manipulated me with the sorrows over and over again to keep me in the place that I was comfortable in. That means not identifying with my own self-worth. Keep me, cover me with the letters, the apology. And it was one and done. They send a letter, and then if they do something else, they'll send another letter. They didn't keep on sending letters every day. They just send a letter. If they did something wrong, we wasn't talking, then they'll send another letter. And then I'll read the letter, and I said, oh, they really sorry for what they did. They were manipulating me. And I was a part of it, and I wasn't a victim at all, because I was part of it, because I was allowing them to do it. What about you? How many times does that person have to say, I'm sorry to you? What's in it for you? They did it. They did it last year. And they haven't done it anymore. They did it last year. They have not done it anymore. They said they were sorry and they meant it. They had a sincere heart. They have not done it anymore. But then you bring it up and they got to say they're sorry again. What are you getting out of it? You don't forgive. You don't. And that's just the truth. You haven't forgiven them. Because if they've done it and they said they were sorry and they have not done it anymore, then you deal with unforgiveness. You do. It's just the truth. I've did it. I've dealt with unforgiveness before, so I understand it. But I don't have any expectations for a person to, when they say they're sorry, for them to do it over and over, for them to not mean it. You know what I mean? When they say I'm sorry, I say okay. And then the indicator, if they do it again, they wasn't sorry. And I don't expect for them to say, I'm sorry, Susie, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have did that, because you already did it again. You did it again. And then I'm supposed to be manipulated by this apology that you rendered. No, I gotta put the brakes on me and you. Relationships, period. I gotta put the brakes on me and you, because you done did this thing 2 or 3 times. That means you're gonna do it again. I'm gonna put the brakes on us to help you understand. You say you're sorry, but you do the same thing over and over again to me. So then, therefore, I'm gonna save myself from you. I'm sorry Yeah, you sorry that I exposed you about it. You sorry that you done it. Maybe you are sorry, but if you're so sorry, why'd you do it over and over again? You're not sorry. You don't have a repentant heart about that thing. You don't. And it's just the truth. I asked my granddaughter about, it's been a while. I said, are you sorry that you done that? And we was just talking and she said, no. And I said, let's carry on. Do you think I sit there and tried to convince her that she was wrong about something? I didn't. I said, okay. Why? Because if she don't feel she's sorrowful about it, me talking to her about it wasn't going to move her. She said, I don't think I was wrong. And I said, okay. And I moved on from it. She didn't have to say she was sorry because she didn't feel she was sorry for what she done. So she didn't have to say she was sorry. And there was no need to. So we moved on from it. Okay? And that's what that is. You're expecting people to say they're sorry. Someone did you wrong not too long ago, and you're expecting them to say they're sorry. They haven't said it yet because they're not. Or they haven't been, convinced from God, convicted that they are wrong about it. So they're just going to keep on doing things over and over again. See, if they don't do it again, you know already, they'll come to you and say, hey, I'm sorry, I thought about those things and I was wrong in that thing. I'm sorry. And you don't have to ever worry about me doing it again. I said this to someone that I cared about, and it's been a long time ago, but I said that to them. I said, I'm sorry, but I did do that. But I promise you, I'll never do it again. I said, I'll never do that again, but I did do it. I didn't keep on calling them, begging them, forgive me, because I knew they had did stuff to me. And if they had not, it didn't matter to me. I was getting it off of myself. I want to walk with a clean heart toward that person. So I said, I'm sorry. Never mention it again. We was done with it. There is people that will not apologize. Some people won't apologize. Their heart is hard. They won't. You'd be waiting out forever. They will not. But it tells you what kind of person they are. So then why would you form a relationship with that person knowing that this person is heartless when it comes to apologize? They don't apologize for being wrong. Somebody told me they don't apologize. They sure did. Not behind my back either. They said, I don't apologize. And I said, okay, right on, sis. And at that time, I didn't receive that. But as time went by, and I began to listen to what the Lord said about hearts. When a person is not sorry, why would you want to convict them? You're not God. I don't get a chance to do that. If you're not, like with my granddaughter, I said, okay, you're not sorry. Who makes me God? I'm not God. I'm not the great I am that I am. That God, the God that's a worthy God, the great I am that I am. I'm not him. So I don't get a chance to convict you when you say you don't apologize. I went on about my business as it was with my granddaughter. And she didn't say she don't apologize because she does. Her heart is soft. So she does apologize when she's wrong. I've heard her many a times. However, that time she said, I don't think I was wrong. And I said, okay. And I moved on because then I give room for God. I give room for God in all things. And when that one person told me they don't apologize at all, I now give room for God. I'm not convincing them, convicting them. I'm not the Holy Spirit. That ain't my job. I just say, okay. But I don't bow either. If I did something to you and I say I'm sorry and I never did it again, then you just going to have to accept that. I've apologized to somebody before and they told me I do not receive it. So what did I do to you? They couldn't even come up with all these things. They came up with one thing. They said, this is what happened. And I said, oh, I'm sorry for that. I didn't know that my words were making you feel, I'm sorry. And they said, I don't receive it. And I said, okay. What was supposed to happen to this? Was I supposed to bow and beg and plead? That wasn't God. No, because my sincerity was in my heart. And I knew I meant that I would never do that again. I was done. I was sorrowful for that. And then you want me what to bow? That's pride. You want me to give over to your ego. You want me to give over to your flesh. You want me to build your pride up? I don't think so, because I understand what pride is. I've dealt with it. I've had it. So I understand the spirits when they come into my path and come on to me. I understand what this is. So I don't bow to it. Okay? So as you go about your Thursday, think about, I'm sorry. Why do you do it? Repeat it over and over again. And why do you want someone else to give it to you when they don't have it to give to you? Okay? Till next time.